I want to share three things. First of all, the fear of God concerning holiness. The first time the word fear of God occurs in the Bible is in Genesis chapter 20 and Genesis chapter 20 and verse 11, where Abraham had just told a lie, saying that Sarah, his wife, was his sister, in order to save his own life. And the king discovered that and later on asked Abraham, "Why did you tell me this lie?" And Abraham replies in Genesis 20 and verse 11, "Because I thought, surely there is no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife." That's the first time the expression fear of God comes in the Bible. And it interested me because it was related to sexual sin. Abraham was afraid that those people would sexually sin against his wife. And he refers to that as no fear of God. Where there is no fear of God, there's plenty of sexual sin. So when it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, this is one of the first areas where we need to learn the ABC. Because all human beings are tempted in this area from a very young age. I asked the Lord once, I said, "Lord, why do you allow sexual desire to start in little children when they are 12, 13 years old, when they can't get married for another 10 years or more? Why didn't you allow, people to be like innocent little babies till they're about 20? And then, when they're ready to be married, let sexual desire come up then. It would protect them from a lot of problems in their teenage years." God, in his great wisdom, has allowed us to have strong sexual desire from our teenage years. And the answer I got from the Lord was the Lord said, "Because I want man to overcome this before he gets married." If you don't overcome it before you get married, the chances are pretty slim that you'll overcome it after you get married. Because the desire is so strong. And that is why it's a sin for people who are not married to have any type of sexual contact. It is the clearest proof they do not fear God at all. I don't care which church they go to. I don't care what activity, Christian activity they're engaged in. They don't fear God. They don't know the ABC. This is the area where God is going to test every man. And if men are tested in this area because they lust after a woman who is immodestly, provocatively dressed, it's absolutely righteous on God's part to punish that woman who tempted that man by being dressed in that way. So this is an area where all sisters need to be very careful. I want to say to you all sisters, in Jesus' name, very lovingly, as a father, I would say to you, don't cause more problems for men than they're already facing in the world in this area. They struggle as it is. And don't add to that if you're a Christian. Let the worldly people do that. I plead with you in Jesus' name, change the way you dress so that you dress in a way that'll honor God and not like the way these models and film stars dress. Who is your example? When God looked around Israel to find a young 19-year-old girl to be the mother of Jesus, do you think he picked on some girl who was provocatively dressed walking down Israel? No. He looked for a godly young girl, Mary. Ask yourself, all of you young sisters, if you were living in Israel, would God have chosen you? That's a pretty good question. It's a very important area. Sexual temptation, men and women have to be very, very careful in this area. I remember a young sister once came to me in our church and asked me, Brother Zac, how shall I dress as a young girl? I said, I'm not going to give you any rules, because each culture, there are different types of dresses they wear. But I would say this, you know in your mind what can stimulate and provoke other people. If you don't know, ask your father or your husband. Don't ask your mother, she may not know. But ask a man. A man will look at you and immediately tell you whether it's provocative or not. I mean, it's men who can detect this much quicker. That's why I say ask your dad or your husband. And I said, now I'll tell you, I'll give you a guideline. If Jesus were living in the next street and he called you up and said, come with me, I want to go to the marketplace with you today, how would you dress to walk with Jesus in the marketplace? That's the way you should dress all the time. I said, that's the only guideline I want to give you. Don't dress like that only when you go to church and then dress like worldly people when you go to work. Oh no, don't you want Jesus with you when you go to work? I tell you, you need him more there than in church. And if you are dressed the way you are now, young sisters, would Jesus be proud of you and say, this is my sister, look at the way she's dressed? Or would he be ashamed? You know, it's so easy to think Jesus is with us, Jesus is with us. He's not with you. It's very important. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. We'll never make progress. Just like you tell a kid, if you don't learn your ABC, you're not going to make progress in your education. In the same way, I'd say, if you don't learn the fear of God, all your spirituality is just a lot of hot air. There's nothing in it. The other